An NDP candidate in Ontario is having an ideological love affair with the bankrupt socialist tyranny of Venezuela. You know, there will never be enough human suffering for the NDP to renounce their failed socialist fantasies. The Ontario NDP candidate for Ottawa Centre, Joel Harden, has got it bad, real bad, for maniacal deceased dictator Hugo Chavez. According to Mark Bonikoski of the Toronto Sun, Harden wrote a 469-page doctoral thesis that celebrated Venezuelan socialism and the Bolivarian Revolution. Harden wrote, and I quote, "The example of Venezuela, it is argued, exemplifies the participatory radicalism and the new solidarities crucial to developing activist policies in the 21st century." You'd have to be certifiable to think that there's anything good coming out of Venezuela right now, or to think that what has happened to the people there is some sort of template that should be patched over and replicated in successful Western countries like Canada. But that hasn't stopped far left-wing socialists embedded in the New Democrat Party from looking at Venezuela as some sort of socialist utopia. I mean, who could forget out here in Alberta when one of Rachel Notley's perpetual backbenchers named Rod Loyola did some sort of spoken word rap thingamajigger to honor Hugo Chavez? Just listen.
About to hit the mic quiet, subversively, coming at you with ingenuity, breaking down indoctrination of capitalist commodification that's taken over your mind, attacking you all the time through daily media blips like drive-by hits. The clip just hit the ground. We've been broken and bound, tied up behind enemy lines, incarcerated and confined. To break free, we need to have an urban guerrilla mentality. Observe your enemy, analyze strength and weaknesses, use the same ammunition. Oh man, I forgot my lines.
Loyola was even featured in the Marxist-Leninist Daily magazine as being the organizer of a memorial for Hugo Chavez after he died. And then there was that time that longtime NDP activist and infrequent NDP politician Linda McQuaig went all the way to Venezuela to express her adoration for Hugo Chavez firsthand. And longtime NDP booster and Leap Manifesto signatory Naomi Klein, upon Hugo Chavez's death, tweeted this: "Yes, the Venezuelan president could be a strong man, but he leaves behind what might be called the most democratic country in the Western Hemisphere." What? Way better than Canada, you think? Except for that time an organization called Transparency International listed Venezuela as the only country in the Americas among the world's top 10 most corrupt governments. I said you'd have to be crazy to celebrate Venezuela, because to celebrate Venezuela means you were celebrating the suffering of the Venezuelan people at the hands of their leaders who were responsible for the socialist revolution there. Venezuela is an oil-rich country. It's got the world's largest oil reserves, and yet they cannot even feed their populace. Nearly 73% of Venezuelans last year reported that they had lost weight due to starvation, dropping on average 19 pounds each. And that was just from the normal folks. The average weight loss was even higher among those living in extreme poverty. Venezuela is also a country where people routinely die from illnesses we wouldn't even bat an eye at here. As the country's economy fails, Venezuela is now running short on 85% of medicines, including life-saving antibiotics, meaning a child's scraped knee can devolve into a life or death medical crisis. And Venezuela is also a place where, because of hyperinflation created by government mismanagement of their awful centrally planned economy, a dozen eggs can cost someone $150. And the NDP's love of Marxist policies and Marxist tyrants doesn't end with Venezuela, although Venezuela seems to be getting all the love these days. Premier Rachel Notley in Alberta herself wears a wristwatch with Cuban Marxist mercenary Che Guevara's face on it in the Alberta legislature. Of all places, Che Guevara is notorious for killing gays and priests and thousands of other people who opposed his Marxist revolution or he just didn't like, and he killed them in firing squads without the precept of due process. Loving murderous dictators is a feature of the NDP and not a bug. They love their murderous communist ideology, even when the people who are forced to live in their so-called socialist paradise of Venezuela are literally starving to death and dying of scratches. For these radical NDP Marxists, human suffering is a means to an end, just part of the process of creating their great society. So excuse me, when I don't believe it, when I hear a Venezuelan-loving NDPer say they're going to protect healthcare, because we can see what that really means in practice in Venezuela right now. Those who will and have been the ones suffering the most are the ones the NDP claim to care about the most: the poor, the hungry, and the sick. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. What you just saw there is my daily video here at The Rebel, but did you know that I have my own weekly full-length show? It's aptly called The Gun Show. It airs on Wednesday, and I have interviews with interesting newsmakers that the mainstream media either ignores or maligns. To get access to my show and the rest of our incredible premium content, become a Rebel subscriber today.